Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. The Grant. My name is Niels Winter, and I'm the creator, editor, and host of The Grant. The Grant is an independent podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system on topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. The tide is turning. Regulars of this podcast know that I detest the call deadline policy applied especially for Horizon Europe. With no shame, call deadlines are scheduled right after the summer and Christmas holidays, with administrators knowing very well that thousands of professionals preparing proposals for these calls will have their holidays and much needed downtime with family destroyed by heavy work-intensive days and nights. I know, because I've been there myself, but the tide is turning. I've just recently recorded the episode you're about to listen to. Barbaglio and Rita and I discussed the mental health issues connected with working in this field. Last week, Rita shared the results of a poll made by another former guest of this podcast, Isabel Burdallo, from RISE in Sweden. It showed 61% are planning their holidays after EU R&D funding call deadlines. It is stunning. On top of that, Rita had counted that there are 40 topic calls during the first 15 days of September. 40. And she estimated around 8,000 people would be working on those calls. Conservative figure, having their holidays destroyed. The tide is turning. That LinkedIn post took off, flooded with comments about how sick people are of this, and how the EU Commission is hiding behind weak arguments of planning of the evaluation regime. It's enough. So action will now be taken. We will gather people and start changing this. It has to end. This episode is just an appetizer and the beginning. Please enjoy. The Grant. Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. Today we're going to dig into one of my, well, it's not one of my it's my favorite topic to focus on in my podcast, but it's definitely not a favorite thing to be under pressure with, so to say. We're going to talk about mental health and stability in this EU R&D funding world of ours. And especially, we are going to stick to the research manager side of it. And before I say anything else, I need to say welcome to my two guests. Rita, Alicia, welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, Niels.
Definitely some of my best guests throughout my journey here with the podcast. I've been making wonderful episodes together with both of you earlier in different contexts. So it's definitely gonna be a nice conversation. Now, this recording is not my initiative. Actually, Rita, you had this idea because I asked you a long time ago about something else and just talking about how to write a proposal. And then you mentioned this, and of course it's a topic that I feel especially for because I've been under this kind of strain myself and feeling the hardships of what it's like. So of course I said yes, and then it's been taken an eternity to organize it because it's difficult to get people into the same it's like this because within this area people are very busy. It's very simple, and at the same time, and we will get back to this is actually something we'll get back to, but because juggling with this a resource-intensive area, at the same time you juggle with your life. Yeah? No, the title of this, I called it the Staying Sane as a Research Manager. But before we get so fast into this, I always let people present themselves. So Alicia, can you shortly present yourself for the ones who haven't met you?
Sure. Nice to be here again with you. I'm a research manager, whatever that means. So I'm dealing with research proposals at different stages, but most of at the pre-award stage. since 2014. And I'm working now at the Center for climate change. So it is the Euro-Mediterranean Center on Climate Change. And so I deal with all kinds of European proposals, national proposals, and international proposals. And that's
And congratulations with the new job, anyways, because you changed since. So.
Yeah. I did.
Rita, shortly.
Hello everyone, Niels, Alita. So it's fantastic to be here. As you know, I really like it. So I am Rita, and I still define myself as a research manager. I deal with research, but in terms of what I am doing, the title. So I have very recently founded a company of my own, and one of the things that I am doing is creating a community of grant writers and tutoring, coaching, and empowering this community not to be so lonely. And one of the things that has to do with mental health and well-being also has to do with that. So we'll go there. And yes, besides training and capacity building, I am working with people that are writing grants. So we keep working on this, let us call it the pre-award stage of working with researchers and other kind of stakeholders in the European R&D funding ecosystem.
So for that, I also need to say congratulations, because that happened since we recorded last time, and regulars will recognize your voice as the one being in the AI series we're doing together with Christian. But those recordings we did quite a while ago, the last ones. So more will come. For anybody listening there, we will have more. It's already booked, so you get back. Rita will be back. Don't worry. Now, but so congratulations with that. And anyone who has an interest in this should indeed go and check out your site. I will put a link in the episode notes so you can figure out that yourself. Now, flying. Short intro chat. So, because we talked about this before. Now, you know that I myself have been through rough times when I worked for P&O. Not only was I at the boundaries of my capacities as a physical and mental, because the mental got into physical, I also got fired in the end. At the with sugar on top. And then 3 days after they fired me, because I didn't earn money for them, I got in a proposal, and they didn't and never thanked me. It's just what you have to deal with as a person in this sector, and it's people have been dealing with much worse things than this. Now, this is why it's important for me to deal with, because I've been seeing people go down. Now, you, Rita, you asked us to do this, so your thoughts, intro.
Yes, so it's important to say that I have a background in psychology, which means that the terms of the mental health, I think, has been an interest of mine, I don't know, since I can remember of being a person. And I have always have, a very fertile mind. With a lot of things going on. and sometimes struggling with anxiety. I had a very big depression many years ago. So these are the mental health, and this aspect has been very present in my life, even since when I did not work yet. Okay, so not from a perspective point of view, and maybe it's what drew me a little bit into this aspect of going into a psychology licentiate, because it was so interesting to me. And then, as a professional, I have been faced with several situations that are demanding. I don't think that they are more or less demanding than any other profession. So actually my specialization area is in work psychology, because when we work, and we all need to work, we are faced with specific situations and scenarios that we need to deal with, and not individually, but also collectively. And I always found very interesting to discuss these themes and aspects. So you see, when there is a topic that interests you, and then you have situations and the context that are more challenging, as I think that all of us have, it really continues to be a topic that it's important to me. And one of the reasons why I have decided to open my company was because I was really, really struggling specifically with the grant writing aspect. It was bringing me a lot of immediate consequences that make me think about if I wanted to continue doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the time that I sent you the idea of talking about this, it was very, very present in my mind and in my daily actions.
Mm-hmm. Alicia.
Yes. Well, you could ask yourself why I am here. But I mean, apart from being probably a subject for Rita studies, I'm here, I think, because I've been doing this job for 10 years, more than 10 years now. So I have some experience, day-to-day experience I could talk about. And the other side is that I'm actually ambassador, the national ambassador for a project, a European project that stands for research managers recognition among these objectives. So that could be the two faces of the medal I could bring to the table today. My experience and my ambassador role for this profession.
But I guess you also yourself been under pressure on these kind of things.
Of course. I mean, I agree with Rita that this is something that is common for all kinds of jobs. So it's probably not just related to research management, although I think there are some specificities, like since we are recording in summer, we can talk about that. For example, in September, it's full of deadlines from the European Commission, and we all are trying to do some holidays. So that's one of the first thing we have to face, facing deadlines in periods where the rest of the world is not having deadlines, I would say. And the other side is the personal life, working life balance. I am a mom, and as a mom, I struggle with this. There are some days where I would like to dedicate myself completely to my job, but I cannot do it. Or vice versa, I would like to have time to spend the day with my kids, but I have to meet a deadline, and so I cannot. So yes, working life balance and deadlines are my main struggle.
Yeah. I think now we will start moving into the actual blocks here, but I think to sort of sum up what is the trick within this area is it's deadlines. They are everybody has deadlines, but here you're dealing with something where it's extremely resource intensive because of the nature of the document you have to compile. So the amount of information, the amount of elements you need to keep, you need to have everything be on top of, the layers and the diversity and the intensity at times. So it's not just writing content for a specific part of it, but it's the juggling with meetings, juggling with partner meetings, juggling with resuming information from work package group meetings, coordinating budget negotiations, individual conflicts in the problems with, for instance, if you would write a tandem, you have a proposal writer with you on board that is not doing a job or is writing two proposals at the same time with that one, so the content people are not happy with it, so you need to both. I'm sort of brainstorming now why this. So at the same time as you're doing this, we have a life. And especially if you're a junior consultant, or if you just you have no partner, you are alone, or you have your friends you want to see, yes, but as soon as you step into a life with family, especially when you have kids, that starts to become extremely difficult. Because that in itself is a project. So, yeah, that in itself has many layers of coordination. If you want to stay in the lingo, now it's just and especially if you're a single parent, then can easily imagine how that it can explode into something that's very, very difficult to handle psychologically and mentally. Because I have my wife, and I have only one kid, and even though, in spite of that support, it's been very, very rough at times, right? Let's try to put this into. I tried to put it into some boxes based on the info that you forwarded me. So the first block we have here is the challenges and the stressors in research management. So we're trying to stay within the research management role, and you're both you have such a position. And there are 3 sub bullets under each of these 3 blocks. So the first block here, that's the recognition and identity. So Rita, you mentioned, did you both mention this? So this formal recognition, that's this about. I know, Alicia, I've been having you in earlier talking about the research manager role and the recognition of it. And Rita, you also mentioned it. Rita, can you share a little bit on that? Because I know it's something that's close to your heart.
Yes, it's it's really close to my heart, because one of the things that has been very interesting to watch, for example, in the ARMA conferences, is that people are so happy because they find their community, they find their group. They are, it's not just finding the group, is also recognizing themselves in what others are presenting and learning and etc. But this collective aspect of a profession, it's really important, because when you feel bad, you feel bad. But when you see that there are others like you that are also passing through the same experiences, it's not that it makes the experience better, but you feel less alone. And you have someone to talk with that might understand you from an internal and inside aspect point of view. Hey, I've been there, I've done that. So, and this is one-on-one on group support, right? Yeah. It's finding the people that you know and that are experience, or even if you don't know, they are experiencing the same thing as you. And this immediately changes the suffering that you have, because there's someone you can speak about, there's another people going through that. And as human beings, we hate to be completely alone and different and not knowing what's happening.
Alicia, this is exactly what we talked about in the recording we made on the research manager role. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, I mean, I would add something to what Rita just said. Having a group, recognizing yourself as part of a group is not just good because you can share problems, but also because you find a purpose. Okay, so I was reading recently a chapter of a book just published where they had a survey, and they asked research managers around the world about what was the reason they were staying in the profession, even though there were so much problems and stresses related to the profession. And the most common answer was that they feel they have a purpose, that their job is important, they are doing something that matters. So having a community has those 2 important jobs. So sharing problems, sharing best practices, and sharing also a purpose, recognizing that you're doing something important.
Yeah. Then if we stay a little bit with what is, how it should be, let's say you work in a smaller university, the manager or the top management of university, there are no research managers, but they recognize that such a role is needed, and they scramble a little bit. They actually don't really know, but they assign either a person that is already working in administration, maybe even a researcher, as you mentioned in the notes. We'll get back to that later. Or they put up a position. Anyways, they put up a position because we need to get more EU funding. Yeah, and it's so a lot of people are complaining out there in the research teams. Okay, we get one for the role, and then they put a responsibility list. You can already now perceive the vacancy notice, right? It's like
that
it's
is
like,
actually 10 people.
Oh, there's a you have 3 pages of bullets of what they need to do, and only one of them is prepare proposals. No.
Yes.
Now, what I'm trying to because there will be people out there listening to this that are exactly in this role, right? That's being lonely, because nobody in that university, nobody in that organization actually recognizes in full, generalizing a little bit here, but they were not recognizing full what that role actually does, or what that person facilitates, because nobody gives it. Like the researchers care about research. They care about the academic world. Especially some parts of Europe, it's a very big focus on titles, on academic. It's a hierarchical system, so to say, the academic world, right? Mm-hmm. So and the management is come, give us some money. So there are pressure from 2 sides. No, that's stress. That's bound to drive that person crazy.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why it's so difficult to deal with deadlines, right? Because it's not the existence of a deadline; it's what the deadline implies. Because the moment when the acquisition of funding for research and innovation, it's understood as a very hard task that needs support. Then they just think that the support is just throwing the responsibility into someone. It really is not. I am a true believer on a capacity building aspect, because people need to learn how to do it. And if you are alone in the university, so it's even worse. Actually, we have been having, the fortune of have, best practice first, and now RM roadmap, Cardea projects. These are fantastic projects. We can actually also put the links, Niels, right, to people go and search for it. And YARM also, and there are a lot of national communities about this that can be very, very supportive. Yeah. And I think that if you're having the responsibility of getting the funding, and this is, first of all, not fair. So we start in the base of fairness. Mm-hmm. Because, Niels, when it was for me, when I was not struggling with my ability of managing a lot of different types of information, mm-hmm. I was struggling with it when people did not respect me enough to send it in due time. So I could have the time to manage it. So it's like everyone is working in busy mode. And so if there's 1 week to the deadline, it's still 1 week to the deadline. It doesn't matter. And people send an email, they throw information in the email. Hey, here you go. And now work with it and make the miracle of getting 2 million for us.
Yeah.
So it's like throwing a ball, right? Oh, it's hot. Take it. Goodbye. And so,
they told us you could get us money. Take here.
Yeah. So yeah, great. And when this responsibility does not come with autonomy and recognition, we have a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. So it really needs to be sustainable from the psychological point of view, from the cognitive workload point of view, but also from the responsibility point of view. it's a very difficult job.
And let's move into, because I have a keep eye on time because it's a short recording. We could talk about this for 3 hours here, but because you mentioned deadlines, so let me move into that sub, because that's the next sub bullet, because that's the very direct physical stress factor. Yeah, the deadline. And as a research manager, let's just say you're a small team, so you need to handle a lot of deadlines. And if you have a let's just say you have a university and you have you have 6 different research team within biotechnology or bioeconomy, and they want to forward different within each team. They might even have 2 sub teams that are forwarding proposals or part of proposals for the cluster 6. Isn't it cluster 6 bio? No. So you need to, they all expect you to support them. That's also your role, right? But they have one deadline, but as a research manager, you have one deadline times, because they fall the same time. They put them on the same date for the same cluster, right? So you have 6 deadlines, 7 deadlines.
You touched the word expectation. Did you? They expect you to. And this is one of the most important things, I think. We need to be very clear and be very honest about the expectation of what is going to happen. And be very clear about how it will happen. Because one of the things I remember saying this clearly, I had a lot of discussions with one of the directors of one of the places I worked with, was like, hey, this one we should skip.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you going to skip? We were invited to be in the consortium. Yeah, but it's not going to get funded, right? So we're just wasting time. And it was a sacrilege saying that. How could I? But it was like saving everyone's time and having the expectation that it's not going to work like that. And to be honest, sometimes, thank God it doesn't work like that. If the European Commission was distributing 2 million to things that are, clearly not good enough, and if they were funded, I would lost all kind of faith in the process.
Yeah.
So expectation,
because that surely doesn't happen.
No. Well, if I could catch up on this, I would say that faith and trust is probably one of the most important factors you should build when you are dealing with this kind of profession. I mean, it took me a while to be trusted by the people I'm working with, by researchers. Okay, so even if I have a PhD, at the very beginning, when I switched to this position, I was not a doctor anymore. I was Mrs. Mrs. Alice.
Yeah.
So and now I'm doctor again. So the point is,
you re-earned your.
I re-earned my title, and so it is a building process, and I'm okay with that. I mean, it's also a part of the job I like to show the researchers I know what I'm doing. But for sure, at the beginning, it is part of the stress when you are dealing with strict deadlines and few time ahead of the deadline.
I think the source here lies with the top management and responsibility.
Of course.
Because the message they send, the message they, the perception they come with, the energy they push into the group about what is supposed to happen with this role. What are these persons supposed to do? Research managers. What can they do? What can't they do? That's extremely important in relation for all the researchers and teams in their understanding. So if there's top management saying this they can do, these people you might take them for nothing, but they work their asses off. It's extremely resource intensive, and they are worth gold for you guys if you treat them like you treat your research team members, with respect course. And with understanding of the pressure that they're under. Because if that seeps through, it all comes down to the fact that it's a fairly new role from an area, especially the public part of it, universities that constantly want external resources and an old hierarchical system of what you recognize and what you don't recognize in roles, and treating people like shit. And it's like this is where it comes from in this part of what we're talking about here, because it's if young management that knows this or have tried it themselves, if they have written a proposal themselves, these people, if they know, then
Well, I'm sorry. No, go. No, I just wanted to say that I was quite lucky. I mean, I had at the university and here now, I have managers who realize the importance of the job. And I really appreciated my manager at the university, because the indicator of success was not how much funding did you get, but how much proposals did you work on. So it's really shifting the attention from how much money you get. But that was possible because it was a public university. So the knowledge and research is the main focus there. And that's not true if you are a private company or if you have to do with your own company, as probably is for Rita now. So I was quite lucky in this sense.
That's because that's good. It's essential. Rita, you've been in the private. It's always important not to throw mud after old employers, right, and managers. But as a general, if you can generalize.
Yeah. So I would say that in private companies, and even in mine, there is the need for profit. You need to make a living, right? Yeah. But there's the sense of purpose also that Alice mentioned in the beginning. And I do feel that this sense of purpose, sometimes it's the cure and sometimes it's the problem. Let me explain why I'm telling this. Sometimes it's the problem because the purpose, it's something that enhances your sense of responsibility. You want to live up to your purpose. You are dealing with fantastic people that have fantastic brains and ideas, and you are in the middle of trying to facilitate their ideas get funded. And so you feel the pressure of the responsibility of doing something that it's good. It's science, it's innovation, it's exciting. And this adds to the stress, the good stress, but the stress nonetheless. And in another point, it's also the cure, because when you are a private consultancy and you don't have, at least in the ones that I have worked in, you don't have any appetite for proposals that clearly will not be approved. And you don't have appetite for that because it's not exciting, it's not motivating, and it's working for nothing. So in one of the companies that I worked with, we worked with success fee only. So
that's great.
So you don't, either you believe that it will work or you don't, right? And this is really interesting. But in the meantime, coming back to what you said, Alice, I really do believe that giving the KPIs focused on the quality, for example, for me, it was not on the number of the proposals approved, but in one of the places that I worked was the threshold. Were the proposals meeting the quality threshold? So it was much more on that. And I do believe that these kind of changes are very important, both for the recognition of our work and the connection of our work with quality, with support, with doing things for researchers as they need. But ultimately, also do we, right? When we get these incredible projects funding, we are helping each others and our families and our planet and our, so.
I would say, yeah, and I agree. P&O, it's a large company, right? So you had good managers. The good managers, not mentioning the bad ones because you also had them. But the good managers, they recognized, of course, you need to do a quality job as a consultant, right? And sometimes the client wanted us to write a proposal. We maybe knew that it was not coming through, but they were asking for it, and we was running with a base fee, no matter what, to cover the base cost, and then success fee to sort of as they called it, to spread out the to share the risk share. Yeah?
Of course.
But there was always the base fee. Now, the good managers of P&O, they say, okay, it's more important for us. It's good if you win the proposals, but it's more important that you have a good relationship with the clients. That you build up a nice, confident collaboration with our stakeholders and clients, because that's what we're living off. That we have are perceived as good, solid consultants that doesn't just come to take their money, but actually do a work for them that they recognize as being solid consultancy work. Yeah.
I agree. And saying that they should not go to that proposal is trust. Exactly. Is a good relation. Is building that. And whenever it happened to me in the past, I could explain it. I could explain why. So it's connected with that idea of purpose, right? Everyone's time is precious. So let us respect the time of everyone. And when it's not worth going to the time, spending that time, let's go there. And to the mental health aspect, I would be sleeping very good at night, even if I was doing something that, well, at the first sight might not be very good for the business, but I was feeling good about myself because I was honest with myself and honest with the client, and things were, I was not catching myself in situations that I don't agree with, that I don't feel comfortable with. And this is something that happens a lot with juniors.
I was going to mention exactly the juniors. I was going to talk about them because I think, for us that we are doing this profession since some years now, we learned by doing, right? And so it was stressful. We had to understand how to do it, why we were doing it. And I think if there was a proper training for juniors who wants to approach this job, that would be a great starting point. Because it's getting more and more complicated. Niels, you were saying that at the beginning, the proposals are more and more demanding in their topics. So topics and subtopics and questions asked. So if there would be a recognized training for research managers, that would help people to don't feel lost in the system.
I think that needs to be through projects like the RM roadmap and so on, because you will not have anybody picking up, developing, like an international training course for juniors, because nobody will be ready to pay for it. No, but really, it's juniors as the way how they are perceived, especially in the private part of the sector. I'm appalled. It's something that I've really disgusted about the grants consultancy sector, the way they are treated. I've seen it with my own eyes, and I didn't have the guts to speak up for them because I was afraid for my own skin. But the way that they are treated, the way that shit, they're just used and chewed out, chewing them and spitting them out. Like they don't give a damn about, because they can always get a new junior consultant to write their shit. No, sorry for cursing.
No, but it's and can we go back to the management, because it's
we won't be able to cover all these bullet points from that, but I knew it would be an organic talk. So yes, please.
Sorry for being a little bit disruptive on it, but
doesn't matter.
I keep thinking that it comes back to them. So having a good manager, it's a luck. And I have been very fortunate. I was in very different places, and I had very bad situations, but I'd never had very bad persons, which is, very, very lucky. But what can you do if you have a bad manager? What do you do? How do you deal with this? How do you protect yourself when you haven't learned? And it has nothing to do with the job, because if you have a bad manager, you can be the best of your class. It doesn't matter. You will not get recognized. You will not get supported because it's just a bad manager, right?
I have an advice.
Please share. Get another job.
You know what? You know what? The amounts of vacancies of junior consultants. This is an area that lacks people all the time.
Yeah.
So I would turn that, if it was me, if any juniors out there listening, I would turn it around. I wouldn't be afraid of saying, what can you offer me? How do you deal? What is your management policy in relation to how much we need to do in relation to how many proposals do we write at the same time? How do you like asking them, putting them on the spot? And if they say, how dare you, or if they think, how dare you, go to the next one. There's all
Red alert.
There's all, you know what, then what they pay them. This is not 5,000, 7,000 euro jobs. They pay them 1,500, 200 gross for this for back break. You know what? Don't put yourself in a position where you think you need to leg up this kind of behavior if they pay you 1,500 euros per month to write proposals from 8 in the morning to 10 in the evening or even into the night. I go away, leave. There's always another one who will treat you better.
I agree. Don't be afraid to change.
The truth is, if I had the time, because I've had the idea before, if I had the time, I would make a junior network as part of the grant platform with a junior network, but I don't have the time. But I've discussed it before with other guests on the podcast. That was Amy from Stadtwerke Wien, because she also cares about making a junior network where they can get and share, exchange and stuff like this. How is the sector? How can you? What do you cope with and what don't you cope with? When do you stand up for yourself and walk away? Because they're so lonely. Many of them are so lonely because nobody guides them. I've seen them even in P&O, big company, just put them in a room, lock the door, and then write, and then they have a rough man and that just writes them like a bitch,
And it's for me, I believe that there is also one problem with the community. So what happens around you? When you are new to a job, you implicitly are finding cues on how to behave when people are around you, right?
Yeah.
So if it's 5:30 and you want to leave and you look around and everyone is working as hell, you will feel some reluctance in leaving. It doesn't mean that you might not leave. Maybe you will leave, but it will probably feel strange. And this sense of how the community works around you when you are new to a job, it's really important. And the fact that you are able to say no to situations that leave you uncomfortable, it's something that takes a lot of courage. Sometimes you just don't have it.
Yeah.
And you look around and you say, come on, everyone else is doing it. So there's something wrong with me, of course, because no one is complaining. And I'm working in this excellent place. So it's me. I'm sure it's me.
And then you work so much, you go home and throw up out of exhaustion.
Of course. Of course. And so, being supportive of each other and not working alone. Let me share with you something. Some time ago, there was there was a situation that I was doing, and it has to do with a funding for my company as such, a very easy, absolutely basic thing for national funding, to get a little bit like a 25K support or something like that. Okay, basic. And I said, woohoo, first time I'm writing a proposal completely for me. So, best of motivation. And it didn't work out. And do you know why it didn't work out? Because there were so stupid mistakes I make, because there was no one double checking. I was alone. And I made errors that I don't understand how I do it by 20 years of writing, but it's so clear to me now. I was alone. Of course it will not work. You need someone else to have this double view of you, even if you have 20 years of doing it. It's just so. For me, the sense of community, finding a group of people that do what you do, share with them. If there is not a group in your country, go to we're in the era of digital. Contact people from other groups, other countries, and discuss and not don't be alone, at least not voluntarily. And if you are not feeling comfortable in a situation, maybe it's about you. I don't think people should care about it. They should get out of it. It's you're going to pay that, not getting out of a bad situation. It's all on you. And then comes the disease, and then comes the mental fragility, and then comes everything. So we need to protect ourselves and to find communities that can help us protect ourselves. And for every professional, this is true. But to professions that are so isolated, even more. Working alone, it's bad.
I have another advice to ask you both. How do you deal with stress related to the lack of control? I mean, you could set deadlines, internal deadlines.
Yeah.
Okay, with researchers. And so please send me these by day X and Z and etc. But it is quite common that they will not meet the deadline. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I face every time.
I think that the lack of control is probably the one, if I have to list which factors would be the worst ones, that's the one. I experienced, for instance, I was writing 3 Green Deal proposals at the same time. And especially 2, we were a tandem, 2 persons that did, so we did it in a tandem, right? And she was my writer. I was the one that did everything else around it. And she went down. Yeah. She got a burnout in the middle of everything, so she had to say, I can only do one. That was a week before submission. So that the level, I cannot even express the level of stress and the feeling of imploding everything, like the responsibilities that was mounting on my shoulder, because I was responsible for all 3 proposals being submitted. So I was dealing with, it was proposals with 35, 40 partners in each. They had all signed an individual contract for fees. That I will never forget that, where I almost lost it. Yeah, mentally, I almost lost it when she handed that in, and that, especially the first 2-3 days after, where I had to deal with a very angry client, and dealing with a proposal that was not ready. It was not okay. We were consultants; they paid good money for it, and it was not okay. And dealing with that, I had a contact partner in the project, and it happened to be like that he was himself extremely good in reviewing proposals. So he saved me. And the coordinator themselves had to step in and save my ass, but they were very angry. But when we got over that...
Can I correct? They were not saving your ass, because the problem was that the ass that needed to be saved was of whomever put you with 3 Green Deal proposals.
I
Right?
chose to myself, but I chose myself, but that was because of you have to deliver profit, right? So I had KPIs. So the proposals themselves, they were a representation of the KPIs I had to reach. Yeah. So to reach those KPIs, I could not reach them without taking so much in. Yeah. Nobody told me, Niels, you have to take 3 proposals at the same time. Just you need to reach that target. We don't care how you reach it, but that's what you need to reach.
That's the incorrect part. That's really just looking
exactly.
at that's just looking at numbers and not even looking at science, right? It's a KPI just as any other.
They didn't care. They didn't care about the content of the proposals. Yeah, right. They didn't care at all. Yeah. That's the truth. They didn't care.
So for me, my advice for that has always been on accountability, in the sense of I do my best. It doesn't work every time, but I try. I do my best to make sure that everyone knows what are the expectations, and to my knowledge and experience, what is needed to have something submitted with high quality. And this is communication with people, what they need to do, when they need to deliver. And I always do this collectively. So we're a consortium, and a consortium is a group of people that are collectively responsible. Even if I, as a consultant, have also my tasks of my responsibility to be done, the members of the consortium needs to have, because without them, there is no project, right? The project just exists with their expertise. When I have researchers or partners that are not delivering, I think it's my responsibility to manage everyone's expectations, saying, hey guys, it seems like we're not going to meet the expectations and the objectives that we had, because things are not ready, they're not going, they're not doing. So it's fine, we can go ahead, but everyone needs to be, updated about what to expect. And when you do this collectively, so I don't send individual emails saying, hey, you still haven't sent me. I send collective emails to everyone know what's happening. And usually this kind of collective pressure also works well. And what I do say to coordinators if a partner is not delivering at proposal stage, what is going to happen if the project is approved?
Yes, that's true. I'm always saying the same.
Rita, actually, I don't think I replied to your question. I just listed a situation where everything got out of control. But how to handle that lack of control, I think it starts where Rita ended that. It starts with discussing KPI. It starts with where does the pressure come from? Where do we need to meet? And then this is the management. Again, we're back at management. Right? Yeah. It's a matter of management understanding what you are doing. Yeah, it's a matter of management understanding the resource intensivity of the tasks that you have, and understanding if it's a public, what can I expect of you to catch home of funding, and understanding that it's competitive funding, so not all get it. No matter how good we write a proposal, it's not sure we get it. That understanding that then it's an added value. We're international collaboration. We build up. It's a long light on, so to say. Having that conversation and see if that understanding is there before you start the work. If you're private, then you need to understand what kind of manager you have. How do they see this? Are they focused on profit only? Do they care about what you do? Or is it so? And then go to another place. No, but really, again,
Yeah.
this is a sector where you can get a job by snapping your fingers if you write proposals. If you have just 5 years of experience writing proposals, you get a job tomorrow.
Yeah.
In 10 different places in each European country. It's not. I know it's rough to say that you have to quit your job, but if your manager has the perception that you just have to bring in money and they don't give a rat's ass about what it is you're doing to get that, you're doomed.
Yeah.
You're doomed.
And
because it all
this
ends
is
up, the lack of control ends up when you have all these things you have to do because you have to meet a profit target, or you have to meet a university manager in a research institute that just, why, I don't care. We have said here that you need to make sure that we receive amount of 15 million euros throughout our research teams across. This is what is in your KPIs. If that's their focus, get another job. Find another place, because they're not going to change that. That's not, so their job is not about the content, it's about meeting their KPIs for their managers. That's their focus.
and another thing that I would like to say is that it is possible to learn. And I'm not telling that, oh, it's everyone's fault because you haven't learned enough. It's not that. It's just that it's important to keep that idea that there are different situations in the future, and that it's possible to have different experiences, and that the world evolves. Because I'm not talking a lot about the private, but I'm talking about public sector, and I'm talking specifically about universities. So working at the university, it's something, it's an experience. Like it's really, and I think that people that work at universities, they are there because they love what they're doing. They're not there for the money
at all.
No.
So, and when you are there because you're doing something you love and you find the purpose and you're working with your researchers and the projects are so incredible, you might be feeling bad, but you don't want to lose, and you don't want to go to private, and you don't want to go to another university, especially if you have graduated in that university. There's also, the connection, the emotional connection, etc., etc. But it's possible to change things, to do differently. But when you are in a bad situation, you don't get a bird's eye view perspective of things. So this is why I go again to the topic of the community. It's so important when you are able to talk with people that have, a macro vision, because it helps you to come out from your vision. When I was at university, it was everything to me, right? I could not even imagine leaving. At a certain point I could, but it took me 15 years, right? So I believe that we need to create support between grant writers. I think we need to share best practices between ourselves.
And you know what? We need to share these stories.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
And we need to share things about, this is why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
It was one of the one thing is the whole podcast. It's a matter of, I give people advice on how to do this and that, right? But God damn it, it's also because of this. It is extremely important for me with what I'm doing here, that this once in a while I zoom in on this, so nobody feels alone anymore. The amount of people I've been seeing feeling alone and sitting and struggling themselves with their burnouts just unfolding in real life like this, I think refused. There needs to be somewhere, be somewhere to show that you're not alone. So many people out there. This is a condition of this whole area that.
Yeah, and it looks like we're competing. And I always say, we're not competing. Science is competing. And if we do our jobs, then the only thing that it's left to compete, it's the science and the innovation that is involved in the projects we're delivering. if we do our jobs well, right? Because we take care of the nitty-gritty, and it's just science speaking. And if it speaks better, in a more innovative way, in a more breakthrough way than others, it's going to get funded. So people often tell me, so I have this initiative of joining grant writers, and people tell me, oh, but you're going to compete between yourselves. I said, no, I don't compete with anyone. The ideas of the researchers that I work with are competing against each other. Yeah, but NDAs solve whatever problem, and sharing best practices of being a grant writer has nothing to do with sharing science. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. So grant writers are not competing against themselves. They are learning with each other best practices, supporting each other, not feeling so alone, and let the best proposal win, right?
I would like to add something about what you just said, that if you do your job well, if you are working well, one thing I would appreciate that it's really difficult to find in our job, and I'm learning to doing it because I have some experience now, is that I have the freedom to do something wrong. You know what I mean? I mean, you're not perfect. I mean, it will happen that you will mess up sometimes. And you should have more freedom to learn and to do something wrong sometimes, and to face it without so much stress, I would say. But it comes with experience, I think.
On that,
a supporting environment also.
Yeah.
On that note, I have to stop the recording because I have to go to dentist. You know what? It's the problem with these recordings about this topic is that they can go on. There's so many things to talk about. It always confirms that it's a good thing that I'm doing when I do these things, because it really opens up some important boxes in people's minds for the guests I've been. So we actually covered more or less thematically the things that I've blocked in here, so that's fine. Toughest challenge? Management.
Lack of
And we
control.
mentioned the lack of control.
Yeah, I would say that. I agree.
Toughest challenge, Rita, management?
It's actually doing things alone, having the full responsibility, or at least the idea of full responsibility on my shoulders. That's the most difficult thing for me.
Dear listeners, thanks for listening to this special episode of The Grant. I love to do these episodes. You find more episodes. Scroll a little bit, go into my website, thegrant.eu. There are more episodes related to the element of mental health in there. So you'll find more there. While you're in there, subscribe to my email list. Then you help me, humble independent podcast. And finally, connect with me on LinkedIn. And do go and like or follow my page on LinkedIn. I made it the Grant page. Just I'm trying to put my flow in there, getting professionalizing a little bit on LinkedIn. So thanks for that in advance. Now, Alicia, Rita, thanks for joining in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And maybe we just promise ourselves that because it took quite a while to organize these guys out there, listeners, these two people, they're quite difficult to get into the same virtual room at the same time. But I think we should promise ourselves that we, in 6 months or so, do a similar episode and continue the conversation on this. Yeah?
Let's book it now. Let's hang up and go to the agenda.
Let's say goodbye to the listeners. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this very important episode of The Grant. Follow The Grant to follow what's gonna come in relation to some action on this issue. All The Grant episodes have their own site on the Grant website. You'll find the link in the episode notes where you listen to your podcast. On the side of this episode, you'll find a link to Alicia's and Rita's personal LinkedIn sites. And further, you'll find a link to more episodes on this topic under my label, The Grand Opinion. Next week, it will finally be time for some shorts again. It has not been possible for me to keep up the once per month frequency that I first said I would do, but I do my best to keep up and continue recording in the short format. It is here to stay. This time there will be 2 episodes. In the first one, I will share about my time working for the official Danish innovation cluster on energy, offshoreenergy.dk, now Energy Cluster Denmark. And the second will be a short guidance on how to support especially SMEs towards funding from Brussels. You can indeed look forward to that. This week, I launched a campaign where you can get your FP10 position paper promoted through the grant. It gives you the possibility to reach a larger audience, stand out in the flood of position papers, and add more details to your strategic points of view. You can check out my website, thegrant.eu, under collaboration, where you'll find more details on how I can help and the added value from this. Further, the grant would really like to join some EU proposals as a partner or subcontractor. Adding sound to the proposed communication strategy can be a strong addition to connecting with the project stakeholders and the world beyond the realm of the project. The grant will only be a small screw supporting the communication dissemination lead with developing great project podcast episodes to support the communication and dissemination activities. Reach out through LinkedIn or my website if interested. Finally, don't hesitate reaching out if you want your own podcast episodes flagging topics of importance for you specifically. Grant's consultancy company Inspire Science have their own series, with 3 episodes flagging their capacities within different areas of supporting research organizations towards EU funding. The possibilities are many. Flagging your capacities as a company, pushing a message towards the Brussels ecosystem as a research organization, promoting an important event, or boosting your communication strategy. The grant offers a plug-and-play solution with a podcast host with 16 years of experience within the EU R&D field, which secures the solidity of the content. I'm not just a journalist, I'm a conversation partner that understands your perception. See you next week.